I'm going to read a theory shell. I would like you to flow it and see how much of it you got written down. Try to write down all the different planks to the interpretation. Try to write down all the names of the standards. Try to catch some of the warrants to the standards. Also, try to write down why the standard is important. And then write down any sort of weighing that is present in the theory shell. And then also, obviously, write down the voter.
All right.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Interpretation. The negative must not contest the affirmative's ethical standard, read an alternative framework, and or contest AFC, provided that the AC standard is act utilitarian. It's disclosed on the NDC at Wiki that the AF could read AFC with this specific framework, and the round is during the Tournament of Champions, and it's at least 2 months into the topic. Violation. This shall is preemptive. You violate if you context or recontextualize AF framework, read an NC, or contest AFC with a counter interpretation or theory argument that uses AFC as the violation standards. 1 is times Q, the 7463 times Q, and rebuttals allows the negative to spread out the AF and the 1AR and condense to whichever issue is undercovered in the 2NR. This disparity is empirically verified by the 6% neg win bias. AFC solves the time disparity since the affirmative only has to win and weigh offense back to a set standard rather than having to win both framework and offense. Choosing the framework is uniquely key because it ensures that the entire AC and 1AR can be spent generating offense rather than defensive arguments on the framework. Time skew arbitrarily advantages one debater to more opportunities for offense, so it must be remedied to ensure a level playing field. Second, strategy skew. AF speaks in the dark, whereas neg can adapt to the AF, giving it a structural advantage by engaging the AF on multiple layers. AC is on one level of the flow, and neg has access to alternate moral frameworks, procedurals, and discursive arguments that each function as independent outs to the ballot. AFC levels the playing field by forcing negs to commit to the AF on substance, which ensures arguments made in the round count. Preventing strat skew is key to fairness because debaters must be able to leverage offense and access to the ballot. Third is clash. AFC enforces substantive engagement and prevents blippy preclusion. This is especially true with the util frameworks that incentivize comparison of policies and accommodate a wide range of impacts. AFC forces more argument development in the second speech since arguments are on one level, requiring comparison to be more meaningful. Clash outweighs other links into education because we learned by making arguments in comparison, not by listening to debaters spread through cards. Clash also key to fairness because it ensures reciprocal engagement on issues and prevents arguments from being ships passing by in the night. And topical clash outweighs philosophical clash. 2 warrants. A point is topical knowledge is portable because it allows debaters to simulate real world decisions. B point is philosophy or K education can be learned about on other resolutions or contexts in debate camps, whereas this is our last chance to engage the topic. The voter is fairness. Vote on fairness because debate is a competitive activity based off skills and wins and losses. And if the negative argues that AFC is not the solution to side bias, he must propose an alternative solution to rectify the unfair advantage enjoyed by the negative. Otherwise, prefer AFC since it would have a risk of solving the problem. Finally, I don't harm education to philosophy. Debaters will still have to learn various types of philosophies to be successful to answering the contention levels of different frameworks, so people will still have to learn the underlying premises.
Okay.
All right, so let's start at the top. Tell me all the planks of the inter.
Okay, so what you first said, you're basically saying affirmative framework choice. You say that if it's util, it's TOC, so it's 2 months in, and that it's already disclosed, I believe, on
Mm-hmm.
your wiki. I believe those were the 3 planks. That's the ones I heard. Your violation was basically
No,
preemptive.
hold on, stop, stop, stop.
Oh,
So let's go to the disclosure plank. What is the specification of the disclosure plank?
uh, I don't exactly know.
Okay, that's fine. So what I'm asking you to do is essentially impossible, right? I talk faster than you'll be able to write. What you should do though is on your flow mark specifically either a question mark or a little star so that you know that you don't know. So that you can go through in cross examination or prep time and fill in that blank.
Okay, just a quick question. What is disclosure? The idea of disclosure,
So
basically.
there's a website called the National Debate Coaches Association Case Wiki, and the idea is that everyone puts up the citations to their cases on that website.
Okay, I think I've been on there before.
Yeah, and so I will share that website with you later, like after this
Okay.
drill. But that's the idea.
So just to so it's kind of like circuit debater then.
Sort of like Circuit Debater, except Circuit Debater usually people put up full cases as
Oh,
opposed to just citations. Um,
oh,
and the other thing is during Circuit Debater they put up the cases at the end of the season or the topic as opposed to during like after every round.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, Cool. So the plank for disclosure is that I have to have disclosed I could read AFC with this specific framework.
Okay.
Uh, and the other plank I think that you missed is that it's at least 2 months into the topic.
Yeah, it was part of the It was after the TOC thing you said. Like since it's 2 months in the topic. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So now take me through the violation.
So basically, it's a preemptive shell. So you read it in the 1AC. You're saying if you violate if you read another ethical framework. Um, that's what I got for the violation. Basically, I thought that was the gist of it. That was the stuff that I needed to know.
Okay, so hold on. There's a couple of other things that you need to know.
Okay.
The real important part about this violation is you need to understand what you could do to violate.
Okay.
So you could read another framework, obviously, but there are two other things you could do as well. First, you could recontextualize my framework.
Oh. Okay.
Now, what does that mean? That means that if, let's say, my framework is abiding by the will of the people, and then I read a bunch of polls saying that democratically the United States people want us to affirm,
Mm-hmm.
you could change the definition of what the word will means, right?
Okay.
So when it says abiding by the will of the people, you could change what it means to abide by the will. So instead of abiding by will being a conception of just listening to what they vote off of on polls, it could be a more deontic approach or a more normative approach where you're more concerned about like respecting people as ends in themselves, which is just a lot of jargony words to say that it's like this. It's like the golden rule on steroids that we should treat people how we want to be treated.
Okay.
So, do you see how instead of saying that abiding by the will of the people means just doing democratically what the majority of people want, you could say that abiding by the will of the people means treating people as they want to be treated.
Yeah. So you're basically just saying redefining what the words mean or saying it differently for what the affirmative is saying.
Exactly. And so, technically, you're conceding to their framework that we should abide by the will of the people, but you're redefining what that entails, rather.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And the last thing you can do to violate this shell is you could read a counter interpretation on AFC.
Mm-hmm.
Or a theory argument that says the violation is AFC.
Okay. That's kind of abusive.
It's questionable. We can talk about it. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so it's important for you to have caught that. Cool. So now let's go through the standards. What's the first one?
You say time skew.
Okay.
You talk about how it's a it's a four it's a 7463 a rebuttal bias. The 6% neg bias, which has been like empirically proven. So we need to only give the affirmative the burden of weighing offense, or basically weighing. Yeah, that's what you got for two. That's what I got for the, and also like it's important because then in the 1AR and the 2AR, the affirmative can generate more weighing arguments and more, yeah, basically that.
Okay, and why is time skew important?
Uh, it's. I think you said that it was like key to fairness. That way you
Right,
went
but
through
my
factors.
question is why?
Um. Okay. I think the reason did you the reason why I think time skew is
Okay,
important.
no. Okay, let's take a step back. I'm not super concerned about why you think time skew is important.
Yeah, what you said, time skew was important.
Right, and so the purpose of this is to analyze how well you're flowing, right? So it's totally okay if you don't have it written down. I just need you to be honest with me.
Yeah. Okay.
So you do not have that, correct?
Yeah, I didn't get down that part.
Okay. Do you have written down that? Do you have like a question mark saying you didn't get that down?
No, I don't.
Okay. So do you see how you can really utilize question marks or like little stars on your flow to indicate where you're missing arguments?
Yeah.
I have to tell you, man, I've judged so many big debates and like finals at prestigious tournaments, and my flow is nowhere close to complete. There are a lot of question marks on my flow. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still not a very good flower. So don't feel like you're messing up, right? Like flowing is an imperfect art, and the goal is always to improve. But there's a high chance that 2.5 years from now, walking into like the January, February topic of your senior year, you're still going to have a tough time flowing every detail.
Uh, so I just want to say this before. For every single one you said, like strat skew and clash, I just wrote down key to fairness. I never like exactly said why exactly it's key to fairness.
That's fine. Uh, that's fine. We'll get to that in a second. So let's talk about the Stratsky standard. Explain to me the warrant.
I used to talk about how there's a. I think it was a 6% neg bias that you talk about in tournaments. I thought that was the warrant that you brought up.
On Stratsky?
Oh, not strat skew. Sorry. You said that your warrant was basically that the AF is like basically shooting in the dark. The neg can adapt to the affirmative. Um, by using AFC, it levels it because then both the affirmative and negative have to commit to substance, and you say that that's key to fairness.
Okay, good. So the one other part of the argument that I think you're missing a little bit is that the neg in the status quo has access to framework, procedurals, and discursive arguments that are all independent outs to the ballot. And so what AFC does is it commits the neg to the AF on on substance, which is the part you caught. But you also have to catch the part that currently the neg has too many options.
Okay, could you repeat the options again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's alternate moral frameworks, procedurals. Procedurals are a fancy word for T debate and theory debate,
Uh huh.
and discursive arguments.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. Discussion. Okay.
Cool. And so the argument that it's key to fairness is because you have to be able to leverage offense to access the ballot. Okay. So now let's talk about clash. Take me through it.
Okay. So the class you're talking about is substantive. You say that because I'm using a util framework, it accommodates a wide range of impacts, and that it's important. Clash is important because it debate isn't supposed to be two people just spreading. It's supposed to have like comparison of impacts and weighing between the two. And you say that it's key to fairness. And I don't know if there's a part of the clash necessarily, but I think you also gave like a kind of a preempt to what the opponent would say about how topical is more important than philosophy, because it's portable in that philosophy can be learned over numerous topics. So it's important that we prioritize topical education, which the affirmative framework choice would do, over philosophical education.
Okay, good. And so the only part you really didn't catch is the key to fairness, right?
Yeah,
So
I just usually just write down key to fairness, which I didn't realize is a pretty bad idea.
yeah, and I mean, we'll talk about that more because I think that you can often exploit the arguments for why it's key to fairness, but
Uh-huh.
that is a conversation we'll have at a later date. So for now, I think that you caught the clash standard pretty well. The argument that is that it's key to fairness because it ensures reciprocal engagement on issues and prevents arguments from being ships passing by at night. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So now let's go through the voter. Take me through the voter.
So the only voter you say is fairness, and I thought this was an interesting plank over that you said that in order that the opponent has to propose an alternative solution for solving the biases or skews, um, in order to defeat uh, the theory shell. And then you also say about how you do not harm education, which
Okay, hold on. Let's slow up one level. Can you explain to me why the negative has to offer an alternative solution?
in order to level the debate, in order to level the debate again, I believe, like to solve fairness, the opponent has to give an alternative solution.
Well, sort of. So the argument is that look, we need to at least try to solve this problem. And so if my opponent doesn't give you any other way to solve the problem, there is at least a chance that my approach works.
Uh,
Like it's basically the argument is that it's the best choice we got. Right? And so like like an analogy I can give you is, let's say for some weird reason you're running away from somebody and you come up to a fence, right? And the person you're running away from is catching up to you really quickly. Um, if you told yourself, well, I don't really like this idea of climbing over the fence, a question you would ask yourself is, what other choice do I have?
So what you're basically saying is, okay, like taking an example of the fence, right? Um, I have a higher probability if I try to at least jump the fence because I have a chance to survive, rather than just staying there where I have zero probability because they're gonna catch up to me.
Exactly, exactly. And so the key there is that you don't have any other choice, right? Because like if you had another choice, like let's say you get to the fence and then you realize that you could like run left, you would just start running left, right?
Yeah, because there's only been two proposals. We either stick with what's happening now or what the affirmative has offered under a framework choice. There's
Correct.
no other option.
And sticking with what's happening now is just simply unacceptable. Because in the analogy, sticking with what's happening now, you get caught by whoever's chasing you, and that would be undesirable. And in the debate round analogy, it would be the result that it's just way too easy to negate. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now let's go to this argument about not harming education to philosophy. Take me through it.
Uh, so I think it was also kind of like what you said for the second argument about why topical philosophy. You're the main. You're basically preempting the argument that like, oh, my opponent is harming the voter of education because we're not having any philosophical clash or philosophical educational debate. And what you're saying is that that's not true. I'm not harming education because the philosophy, um, the person still has to learn the philosophies under a framework affirmative framework choice because they still need to argue under or know how to weigh under it, or they still need to understand how frameworks exactly work for not because yeah, I don't think I'm explaining it right, but the basic gist of it is that a person still needs to learn the other frameworks for other debates, and they also still need to learn how to do frameworks in order to weigh under util, for example, or still under affirmative framework choice.
Good. I think you got the gist of the argument. Solid. Okay, so now let's move on to flowing critique.